So in calculus, we have this thing called a derivative, which defines all of calculus. And the derivative is defined by what we call the difference quotient. Now, the difference quotient is this very, very, very important formula that you see right here. F of x plus h minus f of x all over h. This formula literally defines all of calculus. If the formula doesn't exist, the entirety of calculus doesn't exist, which is a big problem. So in pre-calculus, we don't need to know the calculus-y part of it, but we do need to understand how to manipulate it algebraically. So that will be our job today, is how to use the difference quotient and simplify it for various different kinds of quadratics and other equations. Now, let's look at this formula. It has three parts. We have f of x plus h. So you're going to be given a formula or an equation called f of x. Ours is 2x squared minus 3x plus 5. We have to first find f of x plus h. Then there is a second bit to it, which is f of x. And then the whole thing is divided by this number h. And I want you to think of this h as at the end of all of this, what we want to do is plug in 0 for h. Well, what would be the problem with that right now? Is that h is in the denominator. And are you allowed to divide by 0? You're not. So the whole point of the difference quotient for us is that we need to algebra the heck out of the top of the numerator of this thing so that we get to the point where we know how to cancel the h on the bottom and then have something left over that has x's, h's, and numbers that we can use later in calculus. All right, so it's best, once you understand that, to keep in your head, okay, I got to cancel out h, and we're going to do a lot of algebra. And now let's just do a couple of examples, and hopefully we're going to understand where this is all going by the end. Okay, let's give this a try. So I am going to start with the color blue, and we're going to find f of x plus h. And remember, f of x in our first example is 2x squared minus 3x plus 5. What does f of x plus h mean? It means take all of those x's in f of x, take them out, and replace them with x plus h. So that means we're going to have 2x squared minus 3x plus 5. And when we take out those x's, we're going to replace them with x plus h. That is the f of x in our formula, f of x plus h minus f of x over h. Now, it says here we need to subtract f of x. Well, what is f of x? Well, this is f of x. That's the function f of x, right? So we're going to subtract that whole thing. Now, big important moment. You need to put this f of x in parentheses because we want to subtract all of it, not just the first bit. So we're going to write 2x squared minus 3x plus 5 in parentheses. So we make sure we subtract the whole thing, not just the first term. And then finally, we're going to have to take this whole thing and divide it by h. And remember, our ultimate goal is to get rid of that letter h. All right. This is where we just algebra the heck out of this thing, and it gets a bit messy. So what we want to do now is look at this blue bit and remember from our previous video that we wanted to get memorized that x plus h squared is the same thing as x squared plus 2xh plus h squared. It's really a good idea to have that memorized because then it makes the rest of this easier. So if x plus h squared is x squared plus 2xh plus h squared, we can take this x plus h squared and replace it with this. And now all I'm going to do is copy everything down. So we're going to really work on doing one step at a time, not skipping any steps, and being very careful about our work when we're doing these problems. We're going to be very, very, very careful so that we make sure we get every bit of this right. Okay, Next step is we need to simplify this. We'll kind of look at this. What do you want to do with this 2 and this 3 and this negative sign right here? What do you want to do with all those things? Well, you probably need to distribute them, don't you? Okay, so we're going to distribute the 2. Gives us 2x squared. 2 times 2 is 4xh. Be careful with that one. That one gets missed a lot. 2h squared. We're going to distribute the minus 3 to give us minus 3x minus 3h. The plus 5 just stays the same. And then in this f of x part, we're going to distribute the minus. So we subtract all of the terms, not just the first term. And that is very important. You got to subtract all the terms. And then again, this whole thing is over h. Now, here's the trick. If we have done these first 2 steps correctly, anything that does not have an h should subtract to 0. It should go away. It should cancel. So let's look at this. We have a 2x squared here. And if we kind of look down the line in red, we have a minus 2x squared. Well, what's 2x squared minus 2x squared? That's 0. 4xh has an h, 2h squared has an h, minus 3x. Is there a plus 3x? Yes. So negative 3x plus 3x, that's 0. Minus 3h has an h, but we have a positive 5 minus 5, that is also 0. So if we have done this correctly, basically everything that doesn't have an h in it goes away. And we're left with just items that have h. 4xh plus 2h squared minus 3h, and that's all over the green h. I'm just going to switch it to blue at this point. Now, I have a lot of students who will do this. That is wrong. What you just did was you took an addition sign here and you used division to cancel it. No, no, no. We need a multiplication. We need a multiplied h by the whole thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to notice that all 3 of these terms on the top have an h in it. So we're going to factor that h out to the front. And now what we have is an h times a polynomial divided by h. And multiplication and division are opposites, and they cancel each other to 1. So we are left with the difference quotient that is simplified, which is 4x plus 2h minus 3. And this is the difference quotient. Notice how there's no more h in the denominator. So if we wanted to plug in 0 for h, we can. We're not going to do that part yet. But this is what is called the difference quotient.